Welcome back to the Malaysia Money Matters Show. It's the 27th of March, 2025. And as always, we've got a lot to cover today.
We do indeed.
So let's dive straight into it.
That's good.
We're going to start with some Malaysian company news.
Okay.
And then we can touch on a bit of international news.
Okay.
Just to give our listeners the full picture of what's happening.
Full picture.
Yeah. So
Okay.
let's start with YTL Power International.
Okay.
Analysts at CGS International are saying that. Their AI data center business could add up to 900 million ringgit to their net earnings by mid-2027.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
It is a big number.
Yeah.
And they're saying that this is if they reach full capacity.
Right.
Makes
That's
at their data center.
Yeah.
And they're even projecting a high EBITDA margin
Okay.
of around 65%.
Uh-huh.
And they're basing this on benchmarks from a U.S. cloud company called CoreWeave,
I see.
which also uses
Yeah.
the same NVIDIA chips that YTL Power is deploying.
Interesting.
So what's your take on this news?
Well, I think it's pretty significant because it shows that YTL Power is really trying to position itself as a major player in the AI industry.
Right.
And that's a smart move
Yeah.
because AI is only going to become more important
Right.
in the years to come.
And it seems like they're really trying to kind of emulate what some of these successful cloud companies in the U.S. are already doing.
Exactly. And if they can achieve those kinds of margins
Right.
that they're talking about, that would be a huge boost for their business.
Definitely, yeah. But, it's not all sunshine and roses, right?
Right. Of course not. No.
They have proposed this 1-for-5 bonus issue of free non-tradable warrants. And the market seems to be reacting to that with some caution.
Yeah, I can understand why, because those warrants aren't as liquid as regular shares.
Right.
So investors might be a little bit hesitant.
Yeah. And their share price has actually dropped by 21% year to date.
That is significant.
Yeah. But interestingly enough, the EPF has been increasing its stake in YTL Power
Really?
since mid-January.
Interesting.
So what do you think about that?
Well, it seems like the EPF sees something that the broader market might be missing.
Right.
They're obviously betting on YTL Power's long-term potential.
Yeah, maybe they have a longer investment horizon than
Yeah,
some of those other investors.
could be.
So moving on to the banking sector,
Okay.
our HB Investment Bank has kind of issued a warning about Affin Bank.
Oh, what's going on there?
Yeah, they're saying that Affin's capital position might be coming under some pressure because of their above-industry loan growth.
I see.
So their CET1 ratio, which is, that measure of a bank's financial strength,
Right.
could fall by 90 basis points by the end of 2025.
So they're growing their loan book quickly,
Yeah.
but that's putting a strain on their capital.
Exactly. And, it seems like raising additional capital might not be that easy for them right now,
Why not?
just given the current market conditions of the return on equity.
That makes sense.
We saw what happened with Alliance Bank, right? Their shares dropped sharply after they announced a rights issue. So it's not a great time to be trying to raise money.
No, it's not.
But Affin is also exploring a move to the internal ratings-based approach.
What is that exactly?
Yeah. So basically, it's like a more sophisticated way of assessing credit risk.
Okay.
And they're going to be using their own data and models instead of relying on those standardized external ratings.
So they're kind of taking control of their own destiny.
Exactly. But, this is a big undertaking.
Right.
And it could take some time. And it might actually delay their dividend payments
Interesting trade-off.
while they focus on this transition.
Yeah, short-term pain for long-term gain, potentially.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about Alliance Bank.
Okay.
Because despite that share price drop, after they announced the rights issue to raise 600 million ringgit, MIDF Research and Kenanga Research have actually upgraded their rating on the stock.
Oh, wow. So they're not worried about the dilution?
No, they're saying that the
Yeah.
sell down was overdone
Yeah.
and that they see the rights issue as necessary for Alliance Bank's long-term growth.
So they're taking the long view.
Exactly. They're highlighting Alliance Bank's strong double-digit loan growth. And they think that the money that they raise is going to help them achieve their target of an 11% return on equity by FY 2027.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Now for some not-so-good news.
Oh.
Astro's shares have hit a new record low
Oh,
after their weaker-than-expected results for FY 2025.
Yeah, and analysts are pretty much all bearish on their outlook. They're saying that, rising cost of living is hurting their subscribers, and there's intense competition from those over-the-top media services.
It's screaming giants.
Yeah, exactly. And advertising spending is also under pressure.
So if it's a tough environment.
Yeah, it's really tough. And to make matters worse, they're also facing a potential tax liability of 735 million ringgit.
Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, so not looking so good for Astro.
No, it's not.
But their full-year net profit actually more than tripled.
Really?
Yeah, but that was mainly because of lower finance costs and reduced amortization.
So it's not really sustainable growth.
No.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the market is clearly focused on those challenges
Right.
and the uncertainties that they're facing.
Rightly so.
Yeah. All right, now for some more positive news.
Okay, good.
Cuckoo International has launched Malaysia's biggest IPO in 7 months.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, they're trying to raise
Mm-hmm.
over 470 million ringgit with an indicative price of 1 ringgit 29 cent per share.
Okay.
And the IPO includes a public issue of new shares, as well as an institutional offering of existing shares.
So it's a mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're planning to use the proceeds for a few things like buying products to expand their rental business, repaying some bank borrowings,
Yeah.
opening more brand shops, and upgrading their IT systems.
Yeah, they've got a clear plan for the funds.
Yeah, they do. And the listing is expected to happen on the 30th of April.
All right, so we'll see how the market reacts.
Yeah, now Dayang Enterprise Holdings, they've secured 2 contracts from Hibiscus Petroleum for accommodation workboats. One is for 30 days with extension options, and the other one is a little bit longer for 110 days, also with extension options. So it's good news for Dayang.
Yeah, it is.
Gives them some revenue visibility.
Exactly.
And Gamuda, they have reported a 4.8% increase in their net profit for the second quarter of their financial year.
Not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And this was driven mainly by their domestic construction projects, like the Penang land reclamation.
Right, so they're benefiting from the infrastructure spending.
Exactly. And their construction order book
Yeah.
has actually reached a record, 36 billion ringgit.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. And the domestic portion of that
Yep.
has doubled in just the last 6 months.
So things are looking good for them.
Yeah, they're saying. But they're expecting to sign several more large domestic contracts next month.
Okay, so they're not slowing down.
No, they're not. And on
Alright.
top of that, their property sales have also gone up.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, especially from their projects in Vietnam.
So they're well diversified.
Yeah. Gas Malaysia has declared a final dividend of 10.28 cent per share,
Okay.
which brings their total dividend for FY 2024 to 26.19 cent. So that's an increase from the previous year.
Good news for shareholders.
Yeah, and this comes
Yeah.
after a 15.12% jump in their annual net profit.
So they're doing well.
Yeah. Now, interestingly enough, their revenue actually dipped a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, because of lower gas prices, but they still managed to grow their profit.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it is. It seems like they've been really focusing on efficiency and cost management.
Smart move.
Yeah. There's also HI Mobility,
Okay.
which is a Johor-based bus operator, and they're set to list this Friday. They reported a net profit of 10.07 million ringgit for their fourth quarter, and their IPO was oversubscribed.
So investors are keen.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They're planning to use the proceeds for a few things, like expanding their fleet, electrifying their buses, and upgrading their technology.
Sound like a solid plan.
Yeah. United Malacca,
Okay.
their third quarter net profit,
Yeah.
surged by 53% year on year.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah, it is. And this was mainly due to higher crude palm oil and palm kernel prices.
Ah, so they benefited from the commodity boom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Krastic, their fresh fruit bunch production in Malaysia was actually lower.
Okay, so they're a bit exposed
Yeah.
to those price fluctuations.
Yeah. But their profit from their Indonesian operations also saw a big jump.
So that helped to offset it.
Yeah. And they're still optimistic for the rest of the year.
All right, good.
Yeah. Now, Kim Loong Resources, their fourth quarter net profit dipped a little bit
Okay.
because of lower fresh fruit bunch production and higher costs.
So they're facing some headwinds.
Yeah. But their revenue actually went up because of those higher crude palm oil selling prices.
That's a mixed bag.
Yeah. They did declare a second interim dividend, though,
Okay.
and they're expecting fresh fruit bunch production to increase in FY 2026.
So they're hoping for a rebound.
Yeah. Maybank Investment Bank is saying that MISC could potentially pay higher dividends this year.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, they're saying that. The cash flow from their Mero 3 FPSO project in Brazil, which has started operations and has a long-term charter, will give them the financial flexibility to do that.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is. Now, sources are saying that Petronas
Okay.
is looking to raise up to $3 billion through a 3-tranche U.S. dollar bond issuance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
It is. And this will be their first dollar bond issuance since 2021.
So they're tapping into the global markets.
Yeah. And this comes after they reported a decrease in their profit for FY 2024 because of lower energy prices and some tax adjustments.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And they're also planning a right-sizing exercise.
So they're trying to streamline their operations.
Yeah. Rojas Technic has secured a 92.8 million ringgit EPCC contract from Tenaga National.
Good for them.
Yeah, for a transmission line project.
Yeah.
So that's good news for their earnings. My News Holdings reported a big jump in their first quarter FY 2025 net profit, and they're attributing that to new store openings and improved sales across their various brands.
So their expansion strategy is working.
Yeah, and they're saying that they expect this growth to continue because of new outlets and their loyalty program expansion.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nescon Builders has been awarded a 228.30 million ringgit construction contract for a condominium project in KL.
Big project.
Yeah, and it's expected to be completed in 37 months.
So that'll keep them busy.
Yeah. And finally, Tabung Haji has announced a dividend of 3.25% for 2024.
That was our highest in 7 years.
It is, yeah. And it totals 2.92 billion ringgit. He said that this was driven by stronger investment returns, a better Malaysian economy, and cost management.
So it's all good news?
Yeah. And they also paid 99.35 million ringgit in zakat on behalf of their depositors.
Which is an important part of their mission.
Yeah. So now let's move on to some international news.
All right, let's go global.
Okay, so in Indonesia, Bank Indonesia has said that they're ready to intervene to stabilize the rupiah.
Oh.
Which is...
Why is that?
Well, it's eyeballs now. They're its lowest level since the 1998 Asian financial crisis.
That's worrying.
Yeah. And despite officials saying that, market sentiment is positive and the economic fundamentals are resilient. They're still worried.
So they're being cautious.
Yeah. In Japan, Bank of Japan Governor Kazuo Ueda has reiterated the central bank's stance to continue raising interest rates if their economic outlook is realized.
Okay.
But he didn't give any clear hints on the timing of the next hike.
So he's keeping his options open.
Yeah. And the yen actually weakened after his comments.
The market doesn't like uncertainty.
No, it doesn't. Rising uncertainty over global trade due to those U.S. tariffs is also a factor in Japan.
Right.
And consumer prices there rose faster than expected in February.
So inflation's still a concern.
Yeah. Some good news for travelers.
Okay, what's that?
British Airways is restarting daily flights to Kuala Lumpur on April 2nd.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. It's been 4 years since they last flew here because of the pandemic, but they're back.
Excellent.
Yeah. A central bank advisor in China has indicated that the Chinese economy has started the year well.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. And they've said that the authorities are prepared to increase stimulus measures if growth falters.
So they've got a plan B.
Yeah. Their priorities right now are boosting business and consumer confidence.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But they're being cautious about weakening the yuan just to boost exports.
So they're not going for a quick fix.
No. Moving on to the U.S.
Okay.
Moody's has said that the U.S.'s fiscal strength is going to continue to decline.
Oh, that's not good.
No, they're saying that this is because of budgets, widening budget deficits, and less affordable debt. And they're projecting that the debt-to-GDP ratio will rise significantly by 2035.
It's a long-term problem.
Yeah. And they also said that the potential negative economic impact of tariffs and unfunded tax cuts is making things even more complicated.
It's a complex picture.
Yeah. Orders for U.S. business equipment actually fell in February.
Oh, that's not a good sign.
No. And this suggests that some companies are holding back on investments because they're uncertain about tariffs and tax policy.
So uncertainty is breeding caution.
Exactly. U.S. mortgage rates have risen for the first time in 9 weeks, and this is leading to a pullback in refinancing activity, and it's also tempering purchase activity.
So the housing market is cooling down?
Yeah.
Okay.
The U.S. has added 6 subsidiaries of China's Inspur Group and dozens of other Chinese entities to its export restriction list.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So they're saying that is because
these
companies are contributing to the development of supercomputers for the Chinese military.
So it's a national security issue.
Yeah. And China has condemned the move.
Of course they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Finally, oil prices edged higher after an industry report. So the U.S. crude stockpiles had dropped.
So supply is tightening.
Yeah. The market is also weighing
Uh,
that potential Russia-Ukraine ceasefire in the Black Sea.
Right.
But the Kremlin has said that. Their involvement depends on some preconditions.
so it's still uncertain.
Very uncertain.
Yeah.
So, with all that news, what would you say is the most exciting or the most interesting news of the day?
Well, I think for me, the most exciting news is the progress on the Johor-Singapore Special Economic Zone.
Okay. You think that has the most potential?
I do, because it's a sign
Yeah.
that Malaysia and Singapore are really committed to working together to boost economic growth in the region.
Yeah, and they're not wasting any time.
No, they're not. They've already started working on those infrastructure projects, like the RTS link
Yeah.
and the internal LRT and RT plans.
And they're setting some ambitious targets
Yeah,
for job creation and investment.
exactly. And I think that this could have a really positive impact on the Malaysian economy.
So for you, it's all about the long-term potential
Exactly.
of this project.
Yes.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our show for today. We hope you found this discussion helpful and informative. As always, staying informed is key to making smart financial decisions.
Couldn't agree more.
So if you enjoyed today's show, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more in-depth analysis of the latest Malaysia Money Matters. We'll see you next time.
Until then.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey there, thanks for tuning in. If you would like a deeper dive into all the investment opportunities from today's news, subscribe to my newsletter at moneymatters.substack.com. I will be sharing a deeper analysis of the key investment opportunities from today's news, including what makes these opportunities stand out and how they fit into the broader market trends. By subscribing to the Malaysia Money Matters newsletter, you will also get exclusive insights on my watch list and portfolio and fundamental reports on Malaysian listed companies.